Hello, Werewolves Within. Werewolves Within. I originally thought that this was an original film. Even when the trailers were coming out and I saw Ubisoft was on it, I was like, oh, cool, Ubisoft. Guess they're a game. They're producing movies now. And then I found out very quickly before going to the screening I had this. It was this past Saturday that I went to go see it. Already forgetting the date that is. June 23rd, 4th, something crazy like that. And yeah, it turns out it's based on a VR game that received very mixed reviews, was not enjoyed that much, and that's how it was based on something. Now, simply to say it was based on something, I did some looking into the game. Other than it's people trapped in a home, it's a mystery game in VR, and you're figuring out who's a werewolf among the one person in this unsolved house mystery village thing with the place and location it's named after. It's not directly similar. It's clearly more like an inspiration and simply to get a title of something, which I think is a fun concept to do. It's cool that Ubisoft produced it still. It was like a production company under it. So Werewolves Within is a new film that you can all see, I believe, at home this Friday. I believe it's getting its video on demand release now, and it got a limited release in theaters the past week. I went to see it in theaters. I was really looking forward to it. The main reason I wanted to see Sam Richardson as like the lead character, I don't know if I've seen him as a lead character, at least I don't think I have. I always see him as that side character, and not like the side character, not like the main side character, like the side character. Like, he's always that, I have a 3-minute appearance in a movie, like Mike and Dave New Wedding Dates, he has a small role. Good Boys, he has a very small role. I always think of him as like that guy. Promising Young Woman, that movie as well. And I want to see him in stuff more as the lead, because he's fucking great. And the girl from all the AT&T commercials that everyone was fucking flipping out about is the other main character of this film. And it's about a city, a very small town, at least so small that the assumption that I see, there's like 12 to 14 people here that we meet in the movie. All are in this city. Sam Richardson plays this cop who was moved from where he was to the city to just stay there for the weekend and figure out some problems with a chemical-based issue that's going on. A little bit political in the message. There's like the Republican-type people, and then there's the Democratic-type people, and there's this gas company, and the guy who wants is clearly like a fucking Republican-type character, and there's a few people on his side, and there's a few people who don't want that to happen, and there's like this chemical expert who's there, who's like a doctor character who's like in the midst of trying to argue against what his beliefs are, against the gas guy's beliefs are, who was the guy from The Hunt, which I thought was really cool. If you remember The Hunt, he had a role in that movie. And it's kind of just this off-quirky comedy for like 30 minutes. Then it becomes like this mystery of like, is there a killer on the loose? Is someone going to kill us? And they're all stuck in this house or a hotel, so like a very small motel in the middle of this small city for the night, and all the characters have their own quirks. There's the two gay characters, but they're like the rich ones who have an actual company. They're making money off of living there. You got the main gas guy who's like, we need the gas here. It's very important. And he has a bunch of fucking guns, and almost all the Republican characters have guns. There's the annoying girl and her really weird husband, and she fucking loses her dog. And that's how, like, she's like, oh, I lost my dog. And at the same night, they find the dead body of this the hotel owner's, like, husband under the goddamn house. Sam Richardson finds it. And all these characters have their quirks, and they're very fun. But I believe what makes the movie isn't just the very weird, shrewd comedy and style from Josh Rubin, who directed Scare Me last year, which I thought was a pretty fun film. What really works with Werewolves Within is its two leads. I think without the two leads, it wouldn't be as prominent. Like, if you just had another character at the forefront who fit in with all these other characters, it would be a very annoying film, because Sam Richardson's only quo in this movie is not only to explain what's happening and to figure stuff out from his perspective because he is the main character, but he's also there to dilute all the annoyance. Because all these characters do is argue and bitch and bicker and say really stupid shit that's going to get them all killed consistently throughout the film. Like, it's never minimalized. They are always annoying. All these characters just yell and argue and scream, and he's that midpoint who's just like, all right, can we calm the fuck down? Like, nothing is gonna happen if y'all just do this shit and blame each other. You're all gonna kill each other, and eventually, I'll get into spoilers, but like, this offsets at least the people we know in this like little town, because we don't get to meet a lot of people. You only get the characters that are here. There's not even mentions of background people or how many people live there. I'm guessing it's just these, so we'll stick with who is in it. And it's a fun little murder mystery comedy. Its first two acts are fantastic, very funny, some slight good tension, and there are stakes there. And with great leads from Sam Richardson, I can't remember. I think the actress from the AT&T girl's name from those commercials. I think her name was like Melania. I already forgot. Melena, maybe it's that. She's great too. She mentions to be like this. So Sam Richardson's moving here not only because like his force told him like, hey, you're gonna go down to this small town for the weekend, and this is where you're gonna be. He also kind of broke up with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's like, yeah, we should see some time apart, and he thinks it like, oh, so if I like go here for a week, that's time apart. But he's not realizing he pretty much just got dumped was the idea of the story, and so he starts to fall for Melena or the main girl's character. That's who Sam Richardson's character starts to fall for, and that eventually becomes like a relationship building. And the first 30 minutes is kind of like those two characters. She shows him around the whole town, meeting all these fucking weird different people, and he's just having that reaction like, oh shit, I guess I agree with you on everything. And they're like a really lovable duo, and that's great. And then the second act kicks off with like him getting a call from his ex, and then she's like, fine, I guess you're not into me. And that splits them apart, and then that's also what gets them all in the house at the same time, because one of the girls' dogs was murdered, and then they find the dead body of the hotel owner's like husband there. So now it's like, oh shit, like they're all stuck in this house, and kind of no one is liking each other or is very much friends with each other, but they all have guns, and eventually they do like those cliche things where like, everyone gives up on their guns so they don't murder each other, and they all start to split up and lock themselves in different rooms, and it's like, this idea is going to get more of them killed, but in their idea, because they don't know if there's a werewolf for sure around them, they think it's just them killing each other. They're like, well, if we get rid of the guns and throw the keys out of the house and we lock ourselves in here, like, who can kill us? It's like, but if there were a werewolf, you're still trapped inside with them, which is a great concept. And there's clearly many moments where we, as the audience who would watch it, would know there's a werewolf, but they don't. But there's just moments where you're like, there is going to be a werewolf. I found it fairly predictable from the very beginning what or who or when the werewolf would show up and who it was going to be and what it was going to be. I found that fairly simple just by me. Knowing Josh Rubin and how he did Scare Me, it kind of plays out in that pacing where it's like a great meeting duo, some quirky comedy, not much happening. The second act is like this big chunk that's really fun and really delves into like what the film is. It's just that it lets it be. And then the third act is kind of a 20-minute short, quick act where a ton of shit happens, and then you're like, oh, well, it's laid down. And then it's like, nope, big twist and reveal, like you didn't expect it. And then it just kind of abruptly hits you, and then it ends with a great comedic undertone, and you're like, yeah, cool, I like that ending. It's the same way Scare Me was, and that's kind of where I felt the pacing going. And I found the third act predictable and not necessarily unfunny. It was funny, and it was still working. And Sam Richardson and Melena had this like really good chemistry still up to the end. And the violence, the gore, it was actually really good as well as all the funny humor. It just feels messy in its story and very predictable. Like, if you don't predict this, I would be amazed. It's pretty fucking obvious where everything in this movie is going. And the werewolf look, to be fair, is pretty cheap looking. I was hoping it'd feel more grand. Like, maybe they could have thrown an extra $100,000 in, maybe, just for some okay effects, some better stuff to it. It looks fairly simple and low budget. And to be fair, like Scare Me, he can get away with using good sound design and funny moments and great character building and some decent production design and a nice location around just to build off of its own tension and for its own comedy's sake. He did that well with Scare Me, to simply do little things. Like, the sound design in Scare Me is what makes that movie work. The production design and all the quirky characters and this location, this house, and some of the fake out scare moments, but they're used perfectly, not like dumb, comedy, or not used as like, oh, a cat jumps out and that's scary type thing. It's used effectively for humor and doesn't feel cliche. That's what makes this tone work, and that's what sort of sets up the ending to work. Despite the predictability, the stupidity that character choices make, like these characters fucking make sometimes, the third act being really messy. Like, if you cannot predict this, you might be very young. You might be like an 8-year-old, or you might be dumb because, like, sorry, but I saw this shit coming from a mile away. Maybe like 10 minutes in, I was like, I can probably get the ending right, and I did. So, with all of that being said, I think it's a fun film, very fun to watch with friends, and I think everyone's gonna have a lot of fun to see it. I will again warn everyone that it is very simplistic. You've probably seen it before, these types of films. Recently, last year, I think, during the pandemic, I was watching The Wolf of Snow Hollow from Jim Cummings, and that was a very fucking enjoyable film. I gave that one a 7. I would say I had just as much fun with this, and it's a little bit more mainlined, and I would probably give it the same score I gave that one. I'm going to give Werewolves Within a 7 out of 10. So that is my review of Werewolves Within. There's not much else to say, I feel, about this film. It fairly knows what it's trying to be, and you, the audience, who, if you see the trailer, I think you're getting a great representation of the type of film. It's a really quirky comedy, and way more so comedy, with a few moments of tension and stakes, and there are ideas here that work here and there. It actually had some similar tones to The Hunt, weirdly enough, as I mentioned The Hunt earlier. Imagine like The Hunt meets The Wolf of Snow Hollow meets Town of Salem, like the game online. It's those three combined, and you pretty much got the film that you would be expecting. A solid, fun comedy that, like, if it got a Blu-ray and it was like a $10 one, because it's not going to get a wide release, it might get a cheaper Blu-ray, I would probably pick it up just to watch it once, or maybe twice in the near future, maybe with friends or something. It could be a fun experience. I had fun seeing it at this small independent theater I went to. Support your independent theaters, because this is not showing, I think, at any mainstream theater, so if this is showing near you, and you have an independent theater, not a bad time waster, and it would be great to support your small local theaters. As much as I recommend going to any theater just to support theaters. Small local theaters, they need their money too. I would fucking love to have my own theater. That's awesome. I went to the Granbury Theater in Fort Worth, Texas, so if you know where that is and anyone sees this, go there. It's a really fucking cool little experience. I might rent a private theater there someday with my friends. That could be fun. Yeah, coming up, there's so much this week. My buddy Angel's thoughts on Peter Rabbit 2. They either might be out right before this, or they'll be the video after this. So that's coming out. The Tomorrow War review, America the Motion Picture review, Boss Baby 2 review, Zola review, Summer of Soul review. Oh, what else? No Sudden Moves review, the new Steven Soderbergh film that comes out tomorrow on HBO Max. Yeah, so much. There's so many movies this week coming out, and next week is like just Black Widow, which I think is so hilarious, which is great to have its own place, because I mean, nothing's gonna fucking beat Black Widow. You could release any of these movies this week, and all of them would flop for sure if it's going against Black Widow. So I guess some ways these movies will make some money for what they have in the near weeks. Again, I've actually seen Black Widow at the time of recording this, and I just don't want to review it until I can give spoiler review. I don't want to give away spoilers. There are some cool things in it, and there are some things that are spoilers that I'm like, don't think they did this well. But yeah, if you want my miniature thoughts on Black Widow, it's pretty good. So I'll give you that at least. Stay tuned to more reviews coming soon. So at least so many this weekend. And that's it for now. Bye.
You know, we're probably just gonna head out.
This is
We'll just pull it.
It's fine. We got it on our own. It's just, hey, you go ahead, please. Don't spare me.
Oh, please don't.
Oh, please! Please don't bother the
Spare
lock.
me. I think I
Oh
couldn't
my
do that
goodness, I
myself.
could have
Wow.
gotten it.